Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My brother, if you follow Waking Up with Ryan, hold on, I have to put on my special. There we go. My brother, Waking Up with Ryan, always sings our favorite song, Good morning, good morning. It's great to start a new day. Good morning to you. Welcome. Say hi in the chat. I see you, Jay. Let's see, sis, I know that you were gonna log on, so let's see if you are on yet. Today is a crazy day. My alarm did not go off, but I'm here. I can't believe that it is March 4th, and I think over the next couple of weeks, every temple especially is going to be talking about what this last year has been. I should turn off my computer notifications. A year ago today, I want to hear where you guys were, but a year ago today, I was in Tulum, Mexico at one of my closest friends' weddings. Where were you? I'll say a little bit more as you respond. Hello, Ron. So I was in Tulum, Mexico at a wedding that happened to be on a Friday. I took a vacation day and I went to Tulum, which you fly into Cancun on a Tuesday, and we had an adventure Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Was the wedding, and I was able to fly back in on Saturday so that I could do our big Purim events on the Sunday and Monday, and then everything was shut down. So in some ways, I'm just so grateful that I had that experience a year ago. I can't believe it's been a year. It's been a tough year. My friend whose wedding it was, her father passed away 2 weeks ago. So I'm with everyone. Everyone keeps, we hit January 1st, and I think everyone, good morning, sis. I think everybody had this sense of like, okay, 2020 is over. But I think we just have to use it as a reminder that things in life happen all the time. And just because a horrible year is over doesn't mean that horrible things aren't going to keep happening a little bit. So I want to be positive. I'm a positive person, but I also think we always have to be ready for whatever comes next. So today I was at the JCC as the ambassador, helping out for Alex's lemonade stand. I've heard of that, in teaching Hebrew. Well, Jay, that sounds like, what should have been happening, everyday life, right? Anybody else want to share with us where they were on this day last year? Or I can show your comments. Oh, once you comment now, it'll come up on the screen. It's very fancy. So as I said, I was in Tulum. Where were you? Let's hear what you guys have to say. If you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, if you comment, it's like magic and it'll come up on that screen. But unfortunately, it doesn't bring up all the other existing comments. Well, as we're waiting, so today we're gonna, when I first created Think About It Thursdays, as you know, it was funny, crazy facts. And does my internet keep going in and out? I keep getting a little alert like that it's red. So let me know if my service isn't good. There's nothing I can really do about it, but let me know. Somebody write in and let me know if you can hear me. Oh, now it's green. Okay, so today there's a couple of things. Number one, I want to re-show one of the first videos that I produced at the beginning of the pandemic. And it's a beautiful video. It was a beautiful city. So, but we're going to do one set of crazy facts. So when I first created Think About It Thursdays, I really wanted to have an escape away from our everyday real world reality called the pandemic. Raymond, I bought a Disney pass. Oh no, that is a tragic story. You bought, and I heard they're not doing Disney passes anymore. But anyways, or year-long passes. I went to UC Irvine, so I had a pass for years. But anyway, I'm going to share some facts about quarantine and the first pandemics that even happened. I don't know if everybody here knows them, but the other thing that I want to do is I'm going to share some facts about 2020 that are not about the pandemic, but like scientific things that we learned in this last year that might have not been given the proper attention because we were dealing with other things. So let's start with the 10 facts about the greatest pandemic in history. So a lot of people know this, but let's take some guess. When was the greatest pandemic in our more current history? Does anybody know? I mean, this has been in the news. If you don't know, then you might not be a CNN or, news junkie like I am. Hi, Valerie. Hi, Valerie. Where were you 1 year ago today? We're asking. Okay. But also, so the 10 facts. So number one, the pandemic originated in Spain. No one believes the so-called Spanish flu originated in Spain, but it probably acquired the nickname because of World War I, which was fully in swing at the time. The major countries involved in the war were keen to avoid encouraging their enemies, so reports of the extent of the flu were suppressed in Germany, Austria, France, and the United Kingdom. So it was known as the Spanish flu, but in fact, the geographic origin of the flu is debated, but hypotheses have suggested East Asia, Europe, here's a weird one, or even Kansas. Yes, Valerie, this was the one that was the 1918. And that's what's crazy is that there's a small population of people who have lived through both of these giant pandemics. Do you guys know the difference between a pandemic and an endemic, by the way? Pandemic, endemic. Also, let me know if you can hear me. Otherwise, I'm going to switch my internet. It's going red. Okay. Pandemic, endemic. Who knows the difference? Think about it. Thursdays. Any thoughts? Well, we know a pandemic goes across the world. Does an endemic go across the world? In fact, it does. But, and see, if you don't answer, then I just have to keep talking. But I believe that a pandemic is something that comes in that something like we are able to get it under control. Whereas an endemic is something that we're not able to completely get rid of, and it just forever stays in our, almost like our ecosystems all over around the world. So that's the difference between those two. But yes, the Spanish, in many ways, okay, thank you, Valerie. In many ways, that they called this the China flu, which was very, racist and stuff like that. But that Wuhan was the origin. So in the case of the Spanish flu, that we all just, casually call it the Spanish flu, in fact, might have come from Kansas. That's an interesting fact. I definitely didn't know that. The pandemic of 1918 was the work of a super virus. It spread, killing 25 million people in just the first 6 months, and it led to the fear of mankind. It's pretty crazy. But the more that they've actually studied the virus, the more lethal, though more lethal than other strains, it was not fundamentally different than those caused in other epidemics. So at the time, everybody felt like this Spanish flu was, I'm going to start calling it the Kansas flu, but that it was very scary. But when modern day scientists look back, it might not have been that different. And that they think that the high death rate was attributed to crowding in military camps and urban environments, poor nutrition, sanitation. Things just spread really crazily. So another interesting thing. Hi, Sharon. Good morning, Sharon. Sharon, where were you a year ago today? March 6th, 2020. I was in Tulum, Mexico. We're finding out where everybody was because we can't believe it'll be a year and 1 week. For Temple Emmanuel and beyond, we're doing a healing service on March 19th. To sort of commemorate a year of the quarantine. So you'll have to join. The pandemic killed the parents of Anne in Anne of Green Gables. That's right. By the way, my mom thinks I should do a show about television shows. Today's March 4th. You're right, Jay. Sorry. Sharon, where were you on March 4th? But Valerie, good point. If anybody hasn't watched Anne with an E on Netflix and you need a good binge, it's a beautiful show and based on Anne of Green Gables. So I really recommend it. Anne with an E. I was talking to my mom last night and she said, you really should do like a show about shows. So many of us have just been watching television shows for so long. For this last year, my mom definitely has, and she has so many shows. I should just bring my mom on to talk about her favorite television. Would that be entertaining? I think it actually might be entertaining. Okay, well, this is interesting. As all of us, have lived through this last year, the first wave of the pandemic, we heard about it being really, really bad in like New York City. But then at least in LA, the December, January numbers were way worse than anything. So the second wave was much more lethal. But in this essay that I'm reading, the first wave of the pandemic of 1918, the Spanish flu, was actually the most lethal. And it says actually the initial wave of deaths from the pandemic in the first half was relatively low. It was the second wave. Actually, that's very weird. It's the same as ours. It says the first wave of the pandemic was most lethal, but then it says actually the initial wave of deaths from the pandemic in the first half of 1918 was relatively low. It was in the second wave from October through December, sound familiar, that the highest death rates were observed. A third wave in the spring of 1919 was more lethal than the first, but less than the second. So we can learn a lot from this. They keep, even though people are getting vaccinated, they keep talking about the fact that these variants could make things worse over the next, I think they said the end of March. So everybody please mask up. A lot of us have been vaccinated, but a lot of us haven't. We got to keep being careful. All right, let's see. The next one, the virus, this is a bad thing about the Spanish flu. The virus killed most people who were infected with it. The majority of people who contracted the 1918 flu survived. I'm wondering if I'm reading this wrong, and it's like myths versus true, because then the headline says the virus killed most of the people who were infected, but then it says, but no. In fact, the vast majority of the people who contracted the flu survived. National death rates among the infected did not exceed 20%. That being said, 20% is a lot. We are nowhere near that with the coronavirus. I think we are at, it's still like 1.5%. Maybe people know exactly what the numbers are, but it's definitely not 20%. That would be horrible. Okay. Therapies of the day had little impact on the disease is the next headline. It says no specific antiviral therapies were available during the 1918 flu. That's largely true today, where most medical care for the flu aims to support patients rather than cure them. We know that that's true. There was such a rush of people trying to figure out, what medications and the hydroxychloroquine and all of that mess of stuff. Crazy. One hypothesis suggested that flu deaths could actually be attributed to aspirin poisoning. They must have been giving so much aspirin. That's very crazy. All right. Did the pandemic dominate the day's news? Actually, public officials and law enforcement officers and politicians had reason to underplay the severity, which resulted in less coverage in the press, in addition to the fear that full disclosure might embolden enemies during wartime. Everyone has to remember that Spanish flu was during World War I. I don't know. This is just all history repeats history. That's why we have to learn from it. The pandemic changed the course of World War I. It's unlikely the flu unchanged the outcome because combatants on both sides of the battlefield are relatively equally affected. Everyone was affected by this flu. However, there's little doubt that the war profoundly influenced the course of the pandemic. Crazy. And they show pictures. I'll have to show you guys these pictures later. Widespread immunization ended the pandemic. But here's the thing. Immunization against the flu as we know it today was not practiced in 1918 and thus played no role in ending the pandemic. So the vaccination did not end it. That's interesting. Exposure to prior strains of the flu. Sorry, I have to sneeze. Exposure to prior strains of the flu may have offered some protection. Like some people would get sick and they would build up some immunity. We're almost done with this one. The genes of the virus have never been sequenced. I think that's false. In 2005, researchers announced that they had successfully determined the gene sequence of the 1918 influenza virus. The virus was recovered from the body of a flu victim buried in the permafrost of Alaska, as well as samples of American soldiers who fell ill at the time. 2 years later, monkeys infected with the virus were found to exhibit the symptoms observed during the pandemic. Crazy. And last but not least, the 1918 pandemic offers few lessons for 2018. Severe influenza epidemics tend to occur every few decades. Experts believe the next one is a question of if, but when. So let's see. When was this article written? That would be kind of ironic to see when this was written. Oh, man. You know, I'm going to have to put this in the chat. This fact line through Healthline, this fact article was written on, are you ready for this? August 7th, 2019. So this was written, I'm putting it, you'll see it says Rebot. There's the article. That means that, that's pretty crazy. That means that this article was written just months before this pandemic started. And that the last fact says it's not a matter of if, but when is pretty sobering. So for the new people who've joined, if you want to say hi, let us know where you were a year ago today in this pandemic. Also let you all know that I'm going to have the extraordinary Cantor Magda Fishman on next week. She is an unbelievable musician and cantor. She was at Beth Am for a couple of years, and now she's in Florida, actually. She went to Connecticut. Now she's in Florida. She plays the most unbelievable trumpet. She's involved at the Yiddish Theater in New York City. So she is extraordinary. So it'll be really fun to talk to her next week. But before I continue with the other set of facts that I wanted to share today, which is about things that were discovered in 2020 that we didn't talk about because it was overshadowed by the pandemic. I wanted to share, you know, it's been an amazing year of collaboration with so many colleagues. And I looked back, it's probably been between 6 and 10 collaborations, and that doesn't include things like high holidays and stuff like that. But this is the first one that we did, and I actually have to double check what the date was, but I believe it was in April, and I got friends from all over the country to be involved, and we used it to raise money for Jewish Family Services, who were serving just so many people who had lost their jobs, and they had doubled the amount of meals that they had to serve. So many of you have seen this, but I thought it would be a good time to bring it back after almost a year. This is a beautiful city.
Out of the ruins and rubble, out of the smoke, out of our night of struggle, can we see a ray of hope? One pale thin ray reaching for the day. We can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can build we can build a city of men.
We may not reach the ending, but we can start. Slowly but surely mending, brick by brick, heart by heart. Now, maybe now, we start learning how.
We can build a beautiful city. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. We can build
a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but we can build a city of men.
when your trust is all but shattered, when your faith is all but killed.
You can give up bitter and battered, or you can slowly start to build a beautiful city. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
We can build a beautiful city, not a city of angels, but finally a city of men. A city of
Hi, my name is Cantor Lizzie Weiss, and I'm the Cantor here at Temple Emmanuel Beverly Hills. Clergy have come together from all around the country to help build a beautiful city, but we know that you are looking to help too. And so today, I ask that you consider making a donation to Jewish Family Services, of Los Angeles or Long Beach, or the Jewish Board of New York City. Jewish Family Services doesn't only help Jewish people, it helps anybody who is in need. During this COVID-19 crisis, Jewish Family Services has seen the worst circumstances. Jewish Family Services helps stock and maintain the Sova Pantry. Just last week, they served over 1,000 families who needed prepackaged groceries. They found that over 500 of these families had never needed to come to Sova before. They are delivering over 800 meals per day to seniors sheltering in place. They are maintaining and keeping domestic violence shelters open and safe during this difficult time. And they're helping their social workers be able to maintain a hotline so that they can help everyone. So today, I ask you to donate to Jewish Family Services in Los Angeles or in a region near you, because you too can help build a beautiful city. All right, welcome back. I wanted to show that part at the end because it's still important to give to Jewish Family Services, to Meals on Wheels, to so many different places that are really continuing to help people. People are still struggling. And it's interesting looking back on that video, because that was, I mean, as I said, it was the first time where all of us were kind of trying to set up our home video devices, home recording devices. I think many of us now have, like, that microphone I'm using, I don't use anymore. We have like full recording studios in our homes, and it has really changed the way that all of us can collaborate. It's really, I know for me, like, I think that if you can't get your technology to help you with how you extend prayers, that it can get in the way. I'm sure people have been on Zooms or on streams where you're trying to do a Shabbat service and things are getting in the way. And we've always found it to be really important that technology can only be an extension of how we send out prayers, rather than a hindrance. So yeah, thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, everyone. That is one of my favorite videos. If you have time, search "Beautiful City," which is originally from Godspell. But if you search the Beautiful Cities by Hunter, A Beautiful City by Hunter Parrish, who did the revival, I think you'll be, that's what that arrangement was based on, and he's just my favorite. Amazing voice. So we're just going to do a few more minutes of some fascinating facts that we learned in 2020 that will never leave this person's brain, is what it's called. So an extinct species of monkey crossed the Atlantic on its own. Now, I'm just going to spew these facts. You guys can talk amongst yourselves or react to them, but there's not a lot of details. These are just things that were discovered in 2020 that have nothing to do with the pandemic. So it's kind of fun. Mars, there's been a lot of talk about Mars lately. Mars constantly makes a humming sound. When I read this one, I was thinking, like, I wonder what the Earth sounds like. And if they've discovered that, like, it probably would sound like humming, right? Like a bunch of voices and machines and cars and just people. I think we would probably hum too, I would bet. When plants are under attack from insects, they let out aromas that warn other plants and entice the insect predators. I'm sure you all really wanted to know that today. I'm kind of scrolling through these. That one's not interesting to me. Okay. In the past couple of decades, supermassive black holes in distant galaxies have launched jets of material. That's really interesting, because, like, how old might that material be? Like, the whole black hole thing kind of scares me. To tell you the truth, when I go to what's it called, the planetarium, where you watch the stars and everything, it freaks me out a little. Makes you realize how small you are compared to the universe. Did you know that some hummingbirds use colors we can't see to find food? These are interesting facts of 2020, everybody. There is a giant lake bed a mile under Northwest Greenland. That's scary. It's very scary. Crazy. Let's go. I don't, all right. There's a whale called a Cuvier-beaked whale. It can stay underwater for at least 3 hours and 42 minutes. Do not try that at home. When kids, I know, like, all my nieces and nephews get to a certain point in their life where they're like, see how long I can stay under the water. And it's usually like 10 seconds, 20 seconds. But babies' brains are wired to see faces and places. Fantastic. That's good to know. I can't believe we didn't discover that until 2020. There are 4 buried lakes on Mars. We're winding down here. Modern humans reached westernmost Europe 38,000 to 41,000 years ago, 5,000 years earlier than we thought. You like garden and plant information. Okay, Carol, well, we'll have to do a thing about Thursdays about gardens and plants. But this one's about a snake. The oldest known species of pythons were in, where does everybody think they were? Where was the oldest python ever discovered? Any ideas? Germany. Nobody ever thinks Germany, I don't think, when you think of like wild animals, but Germany. That's interesting in its own. Okay, just a couple more. Some bats make different kinds of sounds to talk about different subjects, like food or sleep. So bats talk. All right. There is a blue fruit. It kind of looks like blueberries that gets its color from fat. Interesting. There is something called the New Guinea singing dog, and it's not extinct. Okay, these are funny. There is a coral reef that is taller than the Empire State Building. All right. Babies like faces has been known at least in the 1900s. Ecology. All right, everybody. I was supposed to go 30 minutes today. I went a little bit longer. I want to say thank you for joining. Feel free to keep writing. I'll write back. We will be here next week with Cantor Magda Fishman. That will probably be an hour. In general, when I'm by myself, half hour. When I'm with somebody else, an hour. If you have any recommendations about what you would like to see, I know Germany is crazy. Write into me. If you want to be a guest on Think About It Thursdays, write in. I don't know if you guys are having fun, although 9, 10 of you guys have stayed on this whole time, and we get people to watch later. But if you have any special requests for guests, Carol, we could definitely keep playing some more music. I'll have some prepared next week, especially from Magda. Wait till you see it. And with that, everybody, Think About It Thursdays. Keep it going.